First, I'd like to thank Diane and Pitch University. Pitch University is such a great idea, and I'm so honored to be here. As my biography stated, I've been studying the American Revolutionary War. Namely, I've been studying the Battle of Bunker Hill. Such an interesting time and such an interesting battle, but I won't bore you to tears with all the details. There is something, though, I do want to bring your attention to. It's Captain Prescott. This amazing, brave, courageous, and noble man. And I may as well set up the scenario for you. So, the Americans need to build a fort on Bunker Hill, and they needed to do it in one night. And they do. They managed to do it, and Captain Prescott is in charge of this whole setting up and defending Bunker Hill when it's completed. On June 16th through the early morning of June 17th, the whole fort is built, and without one person in Boston knowing. No redcoats. Now, keep in mind that Boston at this time is much more like an island, and so they could harbor their ships right there on Charles River, and they did. They had 4 ships that had a total number of 78 guns aboard. Meanwhile, the Americans had brought 4 artillery guns. Not bad, but it's not 78. The fact is that the Americans at this point, they wanted to make a statement. They wanted to say, we're not just about defending our homes. We're here because we have to prove ourselves. We have to tell you, we want our rights back. And so they were doing that by building Bunker Hill. So there they are. They've built the fort, which they have completed successfully. They have a few guns. They have also made a few trenches. And what they're doing is that they're waiting for the early morning light for those redcoats to spot them and start firing at them. They know that an attack is inevitable, and that's basically what they wanted. They were looking for a fight. So they're waiting, and they're waiting, and they're waiting, and soon enough, dawn's early light comes. And yep, the redcoats start firing right away. Now, the Americans are really well protected because they built a fort. They also built trenches, so they're protected in there, and there were these naturally made ditches all along Bunker Hill. Almost everyone is completely protected except for one person. One person who got decapitated in the fort. So there they are, these colonists who are kind of a ragtag bunch and just wanting their rights, and they've been working all night. They have virtually no food or water. They're tired and they're exhausted, and they just saw somebody get decapitated. That's when reality comes in. That's when it gets really dark and scary. And they were scared. Many people just stood around. Some started crying. Dear God, what have we done? What are we doing? And that's when Captain Prescott jumps up on top of the fort's wall while cannonballs are whizzing past his head. And he looks at his troops saying, good job there. Hey, George, you did a great job. Push on. We need to go a little bit further. We have a little bit more to do. Push on. Courageous. Huh, yeah. So I give you this analogy, A, because I love analogies, but B, if you're trying to get published, like I am, oh, this is intimidating, and this is exactly what it feels like. If you tried and failed maybe multiple times, you do feel like cannon fodder after a while. It's scary, it's bleak, it's dark, and there's rejection flown at you after rejection. It's a dark, fearful place. So how do we transform this fear into courage? How do we keep doing it? Well, I'll tell you. We're very much like those American colonists. We need a fort and we need guns. Our fort is our education, and our education cannot be built in one night. Our education needs to be built hopefully over years. Take every class you can. Learn as much as you can through the books. get a critique group, maybe get a few. Get feedback and get feedback and get feedback. Hone in on the craft of writing. Take as many grammar classes as you possibly can. And then, and all the while, actually, keep writing. Writing, writing, writing. Which is your gun. Your big gun is the writing itself. Now granted, you can make your fort as strong as you want to. Have years and years of education. Good for you. But you can also make your guns that much more powerful by practicing writing, getting it all down. Practice writing a pitch, practice doing this pitch, practice query letters, all of it. You get your guns bigger, you get your fort stronger, you're on a good roll. You're more well prepared than those Americans on Bunker Hill. And if you know the outcome about Bunker Hill, that would be a good thing, to be more well prepared. So we've got our guns, we've got our fort, and we're standing there, and we're ready to have agents and editors shine the light on our work. It's wonderful, it's brilliant, and we know it. We just need somebody else to recognize it as well. And this is an exciting time. We've been waiting for it. And Canon's rejections start hitting us, one after another. They're close, but we're well protected, until something hits a little close to home. We might have been ready for it, but it looks awful. It looks bleak. It looks harsh. And especially as how many rejections as we might be getting, we'll still get more. One of my fort classes, my education classes, was a class called How to Get Published. It was actually by an agent herself, who basically let me know, and all the other students know, that more than likely pitches and queries have a 90% rate of being rejected. Ouch. Very dark, very bleak here. So you're wondering to yourself, as I am, how on earth am I ever going to get published? Feeling like cannon fodder even more? Oh yeah, big time. This is the dark hour. This is when we're scared. This is a place of fear. And we're supposed to just turn that fear into courage and just keep going and going and going, and everything else. We're so scared. We feel like we're standing there in stunned silence, and we've been looking at our decapitated brethren. Or maybe we feel like our decapitated brother ourselves. Dead, dull, numb. Or maybe we keep second guessing ourselves. Maybe we should have built our fort in Nova Scotia or somewhere else other than Bunker Hill, because this is a really crazy place. We're in cannon range, for crying out loud. Whatever it is, we freak out. Very normal response. So, how to make this fear turn into something else? Faith? Courage? How did Captain Prescott jump on top of that fort's wall and walk along and nobly say to his troops, "Good work, push on"? The yogis believe that actually fear and faith are interlocked, almost one and the same. Where there's one, there is the other. You just need to figure out how to get to that other part. I know, this flies in the face of almost everything I've ever learned before myself. Maybe you're sitting there going, yeah, but just hear me out on this little part. To transform your fear into something else, you need to become an alchemist. Now, another analogy, because I love analogies. Here you are, picturing this medieval alchemist. He's standing over a roaring fire. It's hotter than anything on this earth, because he has this crazy idea that he can transform a base metal into gold. Gold! Lead into gold. He believes it with all of his heart. So he starts cooking. The molten lead is hotter and hotter, and if he burns himself, it's not just a bad burn, it could be fatal. Everything's hot.